Alright, so again I realized I was doing and not recording. So let's get back to that, because the whole point is to show that anybody can, if I can do one of these, then anybody can make one of these. You don't need a team of people or a big shop or a lot of tools. So I feel like the handle is set up. You know, we've already gone over the sleeves and the spacers and the rings, and I feel like that's ready to go. I'm still waiting on the vinyl stickers to do the engraving or the etching, so that's just waiting. Some shipping issues with that. So let's work on the pommel. And I don't for this one we're gonna do the old-fashioned pommel. We're gonna do the first movie pommel, the one with the cutout and the etching in here. I'm not up to that right now. So we're gonna do the basic one. It looks like this. It has a cap on it, and put it together the way it's gonna look here. So it'll look something like that. And then it'll have some keystone shaped, this will be ground pretty flush, so I'll weld this up and then grind it down. Some keystone shaped pieces attached on either side. And then this top part just gets ground down into a dome, and the leather goes through it. So this is just, you know, a piece of pipe. And so I cut out some 1/8 inch, and then I cut out some, I went and bought some 1/4 inch. I couldn't afford it, but I bought it anyway. And I cut some circles out with my hole cutters. It's the only way I can get even close to round. Because here's my effort of round without a hole cutter, with a plasma cutter, not the inside, the outside. It's not even close to round. So I decided to use the hole cutter. And the leather goes under this. So the leather, if I can get it over here without dropping it on the floor, this goes, pretend like that hole isn't there, because it's not going to be. I'm going to fill that in. The leather will go, sorry, the leather will go under like that, and it fits pretty well in that groove that I made. So I took my Dremel and I took a small square that had a 3/4 inch blade, and I traced it on here, and then I took the Dremel and I cut out defined the two ends, the two edges, and then I used my grinder with the cutoff wheel to hollow it out. So now the leather fits in there pretty well. See if I can get the light on there so you can see it fits into that little dado, if you will. So that'll come out and then wrap around. Get this piece of leather over here. I really don't want to drop it on the floor. That'll come around, and I think it's like 15 inches or something. And that'll come around like this. Alright? So that's the piece that's sitting up on top of the pommel. And the leather, the strap, will sit underneath in those two little slots that I made. I know I don't have enough hands to actually make it happen here. So that's kind of how it's going to look. The leather sits in those slots. I don't know if that's visible or not. There's a slot, and there's a slot. And this is a much shortened version. It's going to be longer than this. And then this is kind of domed over. But how to attach the leather. And a couple of people who have made them have punched a hole in the leather and then put a screw through it and then just, put a nut on it. So I think that's what I'm going to do. So the hole saw made a hole in it anyway, and it had a 1/4 inch pilot bit. So why don't we just take a 1/4 inch screw and cut the head off, and we'll weld this, full. We'll fill that in with weld metal. So I can take a 1/4 inch screw. So now I just have, 1/4 inch all thread on this side, and then we'll punch a hole in either side, either end of the leather. So lay one piece over and then bring the other piece around and lay it over. But now what? this goes here, and this goes here. I pretend like the keystone pieces are there. Make sure I'm in frame. I have a bad habit of not being in frame. So you can see the little slot, I hope. I don't know, I can see it. I don't know if you can see it. Maybe I should film under the light. But then how do I attach this to the handle? So I've gone ahead and welded a couple of 1/2-inch nuts inside. My welds are, yeah, we're not looking at that one. Well, look at this one. This one came out pretty good. So I had to chase both of them with a 1/2-inch tap just to, you know, some of my weld metal got in the on the threads just a hair. So we can take this 1/2-inch all thread and it will screw right in there. Okay, so we'll, on this end, we'll have some all thread, and we'll weld that all thread to this round that's going to be on the end of the hammer, and we'll screw that down to the end of the hammer. This side, you know, the other side, is where the pommel goes, and it sits like that. So, but how to attach it? I think I want to use the pommel to push my sleeves and, you know, this leather sleeves and the rings together and push it all together. But how to do that? Because I can't have this on. I already have this 1/2-inch or this 1/4-inch screw in there. So how do I do that? So I'm figuring that out now. I want it to slip down over. You know, I don't want it to sit out like this, or else I could just, you know, weld a piece on here and screw it down and have it sit here. That's not what I want. I want it to sit down over the leather, so it looks a lot like it does in the movie. I feel like in the movie version the pommel comes down over the leather. So this piece of steel will slide down just barely over the leather and the rings. But that means it has to come, you know, almost all the way down. A lot of the way down anyway. So I think what we're going to do, I always overcomplicate these things. So we've got this. We have to have a nut to screw the leather down. So we're going to take two 1/4-inch nuts. We're going to screw them on here in order to line them up. And then we're going to just tack them together with the TIG welder. So we're going to make a double thickness or a double width nut. Like a, you know, kind of like this. I don't know what you call these, but this is 5/16. I don't have one for 1/4-inch, or I'd be using it. So that's taken care of. All we have to do is cut this short enough that with the leather, this will tighten it up, and we won't have any 1/4-inch screw sticking out the end of it. So we'll cut this off, you know, about there, so that with the leather and this double width nut, no screw sticks out. So we can tighten it down. Then, so we have this sticking off. Then we have to somehow attach it to this all thread so that it can be screwed all the way down tight. So I believe what we're going to do is this is kind of convoluted. A 1/4-inch nut across the points is about the same size, within a couple thousandths, of a 5/16 nut across the flats. So and we want to have them lined up. We can't have them offset, and that's what would end up happening if I just, you know, tried to weld them together. So if I sit this one flat on its flat and line this one up on its point, then the holes will be lined up. So then I can tack them together, weld them together. And then this 5/16 one is much easier, it's much larger, so it's much easier to weld to this 1/2 inch. In fact, the 5/16 flat to flat is almost exactly the width of these, the outside width of these screws. So that will line up, because I don't want the pommel wandering around when I try and screw it down. I don't want it lopsided. I want it centered. So these all have to be lined up then in order to have it centered, because that's 1/2 inch is centered in the handle. So everything beyond it has to be centered on this all thread. So luckily these are about the same outside dimension. So that should help line that up. I know it's kind of convoluted, but that's the only thing I can think of. So that's the way I'm going to proceed. And if it doesn't work out, I'll just, you know, cut it off and cut a new piece of all thread if I need to. So that's what I'm doing. And now I'm going to turn around and film a little bit for the plasma cutter guide. Alright, so we're back. Made some progress. After a couple of attempts, we ended up taking some 1/4 inch nuts. They have kind of a chamfer on the end anyway. So I took the ones that I welded together. These ones here. Not even in the light. Those ones there. But they looked a lot like these two here. And then I screwed another one on the end to kind of pull the whole thing together. And then I welded these two nuts onto this 1/2 inch nut. So you can picture it. I'll show you the picture. Here is the piece that I embiggened this groove, this dado, whatever, for the leather, for the strap. So this will come through, and that will be all. The head will be gone, and I'll fill that all in with weld metal. And then this piece is kind of domed in the pictures, so I'll do that. I'll give it a kind of a, you know, and so this will be much shorter, and the leather will come in. It'll look something like that. So the leather will come in those slots. Now I have to make the slots big enough so that the leather can fit in after I weld these together, because that goes like this, goes like that, and then that. Where's that go? Oh, maybe this just goes like this. Yeah, there we go. So there's our pommel, except this part will be domed, and we'll have two, this will be welded and ground flush. This will be welded to that. So I couldn't have the leather in there and then weld it. It would just burn the leather, of course. So I had to have a way to insert the leather after it was all welded up. So this will be welded and ground, so that'll be flush. This will be welded in the center of that, and I'll have the nut in there. All right, so I'll do this for, no, wait, how am I gonna, all right, so I guess that'll be all flush, right? And then once it's all done, I'll just center it here. I'll feed the leather in and reach in with my needle nose pliers and pull it out. Each end of the leather will have a 1/4 inch hole in it. So one goes over here and the other one comes up and the other one goes over there. Am I going to be able to do that? I'm going to have to do that. Alright, so So they're both going to come out, and one's going to go over, and one's going to go on the top, and one's going to go on the bottom, and they get pushed back down and pulled taut. So there's only, you know, there's two overlaps in here. Then, where the hell did it go? This one. This one. Yeah, this one. No. This one. Keep losing them, sorry. So then, this is where this comes in. So now I've got my strap in there, this is all welded up, and I've got to put the pommel on the handle. And I want to pull it tight. So, this guy then screws on here. This will be much shorter than it is now. So, because I'm going to push the leather tight onto the bottom, right? So it has to be shorter. And then this 1/2 inch rod screws into that. And we'll put some thread locker on there. So this piece is gone. We'll just, you know, that's gone. So then we have this assembly. So then with this, we're going to pretend for a second. Pretend with me. Pretend with me. You pretending? So there's our assembly, and that gets screwed into here, right? And that pulls the whole thing down tight. I guess I'm going to have something on here if I want to push, because this fits on the outside of the leather. So I might have to have something inside of here to, if I want to compress the leather in the rings, I'm going to have something in here that brings it into a 1/2 inch. Yeah. Some kind of piece that maybe is halfway up. That's the one. Maybe is halfway up so that when I get to here, it starts compressing and then finally it'll get tight. What do you think? Anyway, we're moving forward, making progress. I guess I'll have to assemble it and see. All right. I do want to figure something out, and I think I figured it out in a kind of an odd way. So this is the piece that is going to go at the bottom of the handle, right by the hammer itself. So I don't want to weld this onto the handle, because it's going to be like here, right? And then the hammer is here, and then the round part is here. Am I all the way out? The round part will be here on the end of the hammer. And then we have spacers and rings and pommel. So how do I weld this on to just the right place? I don't know. I haven't figured that out yet. So what I've decided to do, at least minimally, I took one of these, I got two handles. I took one of these 1/2 inch washers, and I took my Dremel and a cutoff wheel and a little carbide bit, and I cut it out to that, because this just about fits in here, just barely. So I cut it out so it will fit over the handle, right? So that goes like that, and there's the hammer, and then our spacers come on, spacer ring, spacer ring, spacer ring, spacer ring. And then, so since we have this bottom on here, it can't slide up anymore. These things push it down onto the hammer. And when we tighten down the pommel, it pushes everything down, and since that has a bottom, it'll push it onto the hammer and kind of lock everything in place. So, Right now, that's just kind of friction fit in there. I don't want to pick that up yet. So I've welded one of them. Try that. I've welded one of them on. Came out pretty good. You know, I got a little touch up, but that's all right. It's not a bad for a TIG weld for me. And I've got to do that one. It's mostly a fusion weld, but that's okay. It's not, you know, just filler metal unlike the 4, 9, 12, 3, 6, and 9. And then the rest is fusion welded. So I'm going to weld that one. And then I'm going to weld these assemblies. Not this. Not that bad boy yet. But I should, I think I will, weld the, hang on, weld the, get off. Cut some little pieces of 1/4 20 all thread. So I will weld that in there like that and just fill that with filler metal as long as I can keep it upright. Not sure how that's going to work. And then once I have that, then I can weld it onto there. And once I have that, then I can weld that onto there. And then I can grind this down, and we're almost ready for assembly. So I'm hoping, if not today, tomorrow, we'll be assembling this. So that's our update. We're doing some welding. All right.